Well, you can't win them all, can you? Hey, the good news is we get to do it all again tomorrow. But wait, why would we do it all again tomorrow when we can speak about a game that happened just the other night? Welcome to a special double edition of Penguins Postgame. I'm your host, Scott McGregor. Let's get this party started. Welcome to Sports for Beginners. This is the show where I cover the Pittsburgh Penguins, Toronto Blue Jays, and take you on a journey through the world of sports. From the fans' perspective, here is your host, Scott McGregor. Let's have some fun. Good evening, everybody. Welcome to Penguins Postgame. My name is Scott McGregor. Welcome, one and all. We got a lot to cover here today on the show. Pittsburgh Penguins Hockey Club taking on the New Jersey Devils. They did so on Thursday night. Of course, I am your host, Scott McGregor. How's it going, Penguins fans? For me, it's going pretty well. But wait a minute. Didn't we just lose a couple hours ago? Yes, we did, but we got a point. Oh, by the way, as I said, we also got 2 points against the New Jersey Devils. We may not do a shared screen very much on our show here, but want to kick things off, speaking of the New Jersey Devils, by letting you know who the Penguins and the Devils faced heading into the Olympic break and heading in to their game time action on Thursday, February 26, 2026. Reminder, this was the third of 4 meetings between New Jersey and Pittsburgh, and head coaches Dan Muse and former head coach of the Toronto Maple Leafs, Sheldon Keefe. For the New Jersey Devils, they came in with a record at the Olympic break 28, 27, and 2. They faced off against the Buffalo Sabres before facing off once again against Pittsburgh. And when they faced Pittsburgh, their record was 28, 28, and 2. Last time the two teams met, the records after the first 2 meetings, Pittsburgh at 21, 12, and 9. New Jersey at 22, 20, and 2. We'll get into that with the New York Rangers coming up in a mere moments. But let's get to the schedules leading up to game day. But we will go over, for the Devil recap, into the Ranger recap, who the Devils and the Pittsburgh Penguins battled leading up to their matchup. And of course, we got to go back to the Olympic winter break. And we're going to go a little bit backwards on both the Penguins app and, of course, the NHL app. Download the app for yourself, Penguin fans, to follow your favorite Penguins player all year long. And, of course, download the NHL app to follow your favorite squad all year long. Starting off with the hometown Penguins against the New Jersey Devils coming out of the break. The Pittsburgh Penguins went on quite a winning streak at the end of January, beating the Seattle Kraken 6-3 on January 19th. The Calgary Flames 4-1 on January 21st, and the Edmonton Oilers 6-2 on January 22nd. Their next action would be January 25th, where they would beat the Vancouver Canucks by a final score of, going into the Olympic break, they would go on a 3-game homestand where they would beat the Chicago Blackhawks 6-2 and the New York Rangers 6-5. Those games on January 29th and 31st, which were Thursday and Saturday, in the Berg. Heading into the Olympic break, the Penguins were playing 3 games, 2 of them on the road and 1 at home. They lost the game at home 3-2 to the Ottawa Senators. They also lost to the New York Islanders 5-4. They would end the games before the Olympic winter break with a 5-2 victory over Lindy Ruff and the Buffalo Sabres. This was also the last game that Penguins captain Sidney Crosby played before heading out for the Olympics to join Canada. And since the Olympics, Crosby is out with an injury that has sidelined him for a minimum 4 weeks, which would ultimately mean that Sid would return to the Penguins next month on March 8, 2026. But we could see it happen a little bit earlier than expected. Speaking of which, those are the games leading up to the Devils game. Of course, the Devils are the recent opponent for the Penguins before the New York Rangers, who they faced earlier this afternoon inside of Madison Square Garden, MSG. The storyline for the Devils heading to the Olympic break and heading into game, they picked up victories against Calgary 2-1, Edmonton 2-1 on January 19th and January 20th. They also picked up wins against the Nashville Predators on January 29th and the Vancouver Canucks on January 3rd. They fell 4-2 to the Seattle Kraken on January 25th. And at the end of January, they fell 4-1 to the Ottawa Senators. The Devils started February on a blunder, heading into the Olympic winter break, losing in shutout fashion 3-0 on February 3rd. And on Thursday, February 5th, the final day before the Olympic winter break, they lost 3-1 to the New York Islanders. And most recently, as they were on a homestand at that time of 3 games, they wrapped up that homestand with a loss to the Buffalo Sabres, 2-1 in overtime. Nope, sorry, that was not in overtime. That was in regulation. 2-1 in regulation. My bad. They fall 4-1 to the Penguins as of late. But how did they fall 4-1? Well, we're going to get to that in just a second. Actually, we're going to get to that when we return to the show. We're going to go ahead and take a quick break. Before we do, let's spotline. We spotlined the head coaches before we spotlined our records, which were 29, 15, and 12 for the Penguins coming out of the Olympic break and coming into this hockey game. Of course, 28, 27, and 2 for the Devils going into action on Thursday. They were 28, 28, and 2 coming into action against the Penguins on Thursday night in PPG Paints Arena. Coaches, as we mentioned, are Dan Muse and Sheldon Keefe. One final thing we're going to do before we go to our first break, because we'll get to the stats so far this season leading into the game. We'll get to that later on in the show. Actually, you know what? We'll do that on a abridged version of the show because things could change over time. But in the last 10 games leading up to this game, the Pittsburgh Penguins were 7-2. The New Jersey Devils 4-6-0 in their last 10 games heading into this one. We will get a look at our matchup between the pipes for the Penguins and the Devils. Then, via the NHL app, we break down the hockey game, get you a look at our officiating crew for Devils Penguins, and roll quickly to our stats for the game. I'm going to do a Bucko update before we get to the Rangers recap. So stay tuned for that following the 3 stars of Devils Penguins. But first, when we get back, how did the Penguins beat the Devils 4-1 and start the Olympic break, post-Olympic break, on the right foot? The game breakdown between NJD and PIT from Thursday when Penguins postgame continues.
Hey Allie, did you know we have a books panel?
I did not know that. When is it?
It takes place on the last Friday of each month at 7:30 p.m. Eastern.
Where we have fun and engaging conversations
about a book that one of the panelists picks.
So, how can I learn more about the show?
To learn more, please visit bookspanel.ca. While you're there, subscribe to the newsletter so you never miss an update. Besides, it's free. Enter your email and hit subscribe.
The Books Pen is part of the Musa Slobodian Network, where good conversations happen.
To learn more about the network, please visit themusaslobodiannetwork.ca. While you're over there, hit subscribe so you never miss a network update. Enter your email and hit subscribe.
Take another look with Gerda Felix and Melanie Taddeo Malo, two powerful women of diverse backgrounds having genuine, unique, and uncomfortable conversations that everyone needs to have. Join Melanie and Gerda for conversations about what is missing from human connections.
It continues on Penguins postgame double dose. We got one more recap to get to, but we haven't even done our first one yet. Well, good news. The waiting is over. Just kidding. Got to get to our goaltenders. I'd love to go through our officiating crew, but we might take a little while to do that. So we're going to go ahead and just go spotlighting our netminders and then get right down to the greedy. But in case you missed it at the end of segment 1, where we split this game recap into one whole game, we are going to get to the stats of the Devils game in just a moment. But we got to get through the game. To do that, we're going to go through our netminders for the Devils and the Penguins. Took us a little while to go through the scoreboard of going into game day and coming into the Olympic winter break, but that's okay. We also went over the last 10 games, which if you missed it before we signed off for the opening segment, at least part 1 of our Devils Penguins recap, we mentioned that in the last 10 games, the Devils and the Penguins coming into action, Devils were 4-6, Penguins 7-1-2 in the last 10 games before they faced off on Thursday. Saturday's recap coming up momentarily. Here are the netminders for Thursday's action, which dropped the puck 10 minutes after 7 p.m. Eastern, p.m. Central, p.m. Mountain, p.m. Pacific, midnight in London, and 1 a.m. Sweden and Paris time. Sheldon Keefe on the Devils side of the ice going with number 25, Jacob Markstrom, This is because the Devils were on the back half of a back-to-back. We mentioned they played the Buffalo Sabres before playing Pittsburgh, and it was to give Jake Allen a little bit of rest as he played against Buffalo in the 2-1 loss to the Sabres the night before the Penguins and the Devils faced off. Officiators, your linesmen, were number 68, C.J. Murray, and number 57, Dylan Blajust. I'm going to go with Dylan B, just in case I pronounced that wrong. So Dylan, if I pronounced your last name wrong, I apologize. Stephen H. and Tom C, your referees, number 46 and number 18. They were the officiating crew on tap for this game between the Penguins and the Devils. Let's kick you into overdrive and get into this game. Now, it should be noted, there were no challenges and no goals called back in this one, but this was meeting number 3 of 4 between the Devils and the Penguins. At the time of this game time, before the game went final, the season series for 2025-2026 was tied, Penguins picking up a victory on home ice on January 8th, and the New Jersey Devils back on November 8th, 2025, picked up a shootout victory 2-1 on home ice. And speaking of being on home ice, the Pittsburgh Penguins pick up the dub and the sweep in the game series of games at PPG Paints Arena. They win both of those games at PPG Paints Arena 4-1. In fact, here's how it all began. We start off, to break things down, we're going to start off with our penalty summary. In the late stages of the first period, that's when the first penalty occurred. Number 81, Arzeni G. I'm going to go with AG. called 2-minute minor for slashing at 17 minutes 26 seconds. It was on this attempt. The Penguins went to the power play and they did score. And speaking of that, we will go right to the scoring from period number 1. We will get to period 2, period 3, and of course, the penalties will follow in that as well. But anyways, goal in the first period, which came on the power play. Penguins score on the power play. Tommy Novak, his 12th goal of the season. Third assist of the season for Christopher Letang. 32nd assist of the season for Evgeny Malkin. Time of the goal on the power play, 18 minutes 51 seconds. Penguins lead the Devils 1-0 at the end of one period of play. Out shooting the Devils 9-7, I should say, after the first 20 minutes of play. Devils got one shot back in the first period of play. Score after 20 minutes. Penguins 1. Devils 0. Penguins don't score in the second period, but the Devils do score. And there were a couple of penalties to be called here. On the Penguin side of the ice, the aforementioned Evgeny Malkin, 2 minutes for high sticking. Time of the penalty, 1 minute 24 seconds. Early penalty there for the Penguins in the second period of play. Malkin, 2 minutes for high sticking at 1:24 of the second period. A little later in the period, the Penguins go on the penalty kill after Dan Muse decided to challenge the power play goal, or rather the goal. Yes, it was only a goal. It was an even strength goal. It did not count as a power play goal by Paul Cotter, who would get his 6th goal of the season, tying the game up at a goal apiece at 4 minutes and 56 seconds into the second period. Dougie Hamilton, primary assist for him, his 15th of the year. Jack Hughes, 26th assist of the season for Jack Hughes. Penguins challenge for goaltender interference. After the review of the call on the ice would stand as called, so we have a good goal. Paul Cotter, 6th goal of the year. Dougie Hamilton, 15th assist of the year. Jack Hughes, 26th assist of the season. Penguins go on the penalty kill as a result of a delay of game, unsuccessful coach's challenge at the same time limit at 4 minutes and 56 seconds. Goal would stand as called. Avery Hayes going to serve the 2-minute bench minor at 9 minutes and 59 seconds. Avery Hayes back to the penalty box. He went for slashing, this time a 2-minute minor for slashing. Game at this time tied 1-1. Penguins 1, Devils 1. Still tied even when the Devils took their penalties. Their first penalty of the second period, second penalty of the game, went to number 8, Jonathan Kovacic, 2 minutes for high sticking at 13 minutes and 4 seconds. Simon N, I should say, 2 minutes for interference at 18 minutes, at the 18-minute mark. So the Penguins would go on the power play to end the second period of play. They, however, would not score, but they would score 3 goals in the third period, just not on the power play being one of them in the third. Shots on goal after 40 minutes of play, 14 shots on goal. They were with 14 shots on goal at the end of 40 minutes of play. Devils with 12 shots on goal. They were being outshot by the Penguins 23-18 as a result. Penguins outshot the Devils 9-7 in the first period. They outshot the Devils 14-12 at the end of 2 periods of play. For the game, they are outshooting the Devils 23-18 after 40 minutes of play. But the game is tied. Time for the period for all the marbles. The third and final 20 minutes of the game. Shots on goal were in favor of Pittsburgh, 14-11 at the end of regulation time. So the Penguins outshoot the Devils 37-30 for the game. 14-11 was our final tally in shots at the end of the third period of play. Penguins take the only penalty of the period, which went to Connor Clifton. 2 minutes for delaying the game. Puck over the glass at 16 minutes and 11 seconds. Meanwhile, the Penguins do score 2 times before taking that penalty for delay of game off the stick of Connor Clifton, who would serve his 2-minute minor for delaying the game puck over the glass at 16 minutes and 11 seconds. 3-goal lead, which would end up being our final. To get the 2-goal lead and break the tie, the aforementioned Connor Clifton, second goal of the season. Ryan Shea on the assist, his 20th of the year. Anthony Mantha also getting an assist on that goal, his 23rd of the year. Penguins go in front 2-1 over the Devils at 6 minutes and 30 seconds into the third. Dad strength, fresh off the Olympic break and off of his newborn daughter, Igor Chinikov, scores his 12th goal of the regular season. And guess what? His former pal, former Russian, Evgeny Malkin, gets his 3rd assist of the season, 2nd assist of the night for Evgeny Malkin, combined together at 7 minutes and 20 seconds into the third, to give the Penguins a 2-goal cushion. I should say, yes, a 2-goal cushion, as it would be 3-1 Penguins at this time. Penguins go short-handed. Connor Clifton's in the box, but the Pens take advantage of a turnover, I want to say, and Blake Lizotte, all on his own, puts the puck in the back of the net, in the back of the empty net, I should say. It was a short-handed empty net goal, his 7th goal of the season. 4-1 Penguins at 18 minutes and 1 second. And there you go. The Penguins hang on to beat the Devils 4-1 in Pittsburgh on a Thursday night in PPG Paints Arena. Again, the final shots on goal tally, Penguins 37 shots on goal, Devils 30. So not quite outshooting the Devils in this game, but all things considered, the Penguins get the win and an extra 2 points right off the Olympic break, starting off with a win. They picked up a dub against Buffalo. 5-2 was the final there. So just quickly wanted to make sure I get that right. And then they picked up the dub on Thursday against the Devils. They improved to 30, 15, and 12, where they sat at a record as they headed for Madison Square Garden in Saturday's contest, which is today at the time of our recording. We'll get to that in a second, but as mentioned, I'm going to breeze through the stats before we get to Rangers Penguins for the Devils and Penguins game. But before we go to break, your 3 stars of the Penguins' 4-1 victory over the New Jersey Devils were Penguins defenseman Connor Clifton, 1 goal, no assists, 1 point. Your 2nd star went to Penguins goaltender Artur Shilovs, and your 3rd star might have been number 59 on Thursday night in your program, but at the end of the night, he was number 3 in your heart. Dad strength, new dad Igor Chinikov is your 3rd star of the Penguins. 4-3 win, 4-1 win, I should say, over the New Jersey Devils. Stats of that game, plus Rangers versus Pittsburgh when Penguins postgame continues as this double dose recap rolls on.
Have you ever wanted a talk show that discusses news, politics, the show's favorite sports teams, as well as sports media and broadcasting? Check out The Ali Musa Show, where we discuss these topics in a single package. To learn more about the show, please visit thealimusashow.ca. While you're over there, subscribe to the newsletter so you never miss an update. Besides, it's free. Enter your email address and hit subscribe.
The Ali Musa Show is part of the Musa Slobodian Network, where good conversations happen. To learn more about the network, please visit the musaslobodiannetwork.ca. While you're there, subscribe so you never miss a network update. Enter your email and hit subscribe.
CNT Radio will never give you up. They will never let you down, nor will they run around or desert you. So join Nick Astley for The Melting Pot every Saturday on CNT Radio. Hang on a minute. He's not Nick Astley. Oh, jings, I've done it wrong. Anyway, just join Nick for The Melting Pot on CNT Radio.
Welcome back, Penguins fans and Devils and Ranger fans. Welcome back to our program. Great to be back with you, hockey fans. Reminder that in our last half of what is now a triple play, as we would call it in baseball terms, we have this Double Trouble Penguins and PWHL recap post-game show on right now, but they're all coinciding with the episode we recorded on Thursday, the day before those games, or the day of those games that we were talking about. Of course, we talked about Devils and the Penguins. We are going to talk about Montreal and New York on the PWHL side of things. That's coming up later. But we got a game from today, Saturday, to get to. And before we get there, as promised, your stats from NJD versus PIT. Those are the short forms for the Pittsburgh Penguins and the New Jersey Devils. If you missed it, our 3 stars of that game, Connor Clifton, Artur Shilovs, and Igor Chinikov, who was available for the game despite missing a practice due to the birth of his newborn child. Congratulations to Igor Chinikov and his wife, and congratulations even to the Pittsburgh Penguins on Thursday night for getting the win. Loved the win that we got on Thursday. Would have liked it if we got another one against the New York Rangers, but let the cards fall where they may. Stats for Devils Penguins. Well, we already talked about the shots on goal before dropping into the 3 stars of the game. Penguins 37 to outshot the Devils. Not really, but they outshot the Devils 30-30. Both teams went pretty well in the faceoff. Penguins winning 22 of the 55 faceoffs. They won 40% of those faceoffs between New Jersey and Pittsburgh. New Jersey doing a little bit of a better job, slightly a better job, a 20% better job there. They won 33 of the 55 faceoffs and ended the game winning 60% of those faceoffs, 33 out of 55 for the Devils. Pittsburgh won 22 of the other 55. The Penguins, however, magnificent night for this Penguins PK. 5 for 5. They were unbeatable on Thursday night. They did not give up a single shorthanded goal. No, never mind, not a shorthanded goal. They did not give up a single power play goal for the New Jersey Devils. Every time the Devils had the puck and tried to score, Devils power play went 0 for 5, so that's not great. Penguins perfect 5 for 5 on the PK. The Devils, however, do get a little bit of payback on the PK side of things. They kill off 2 of the 3 opportunities the Penguins have on the power play. Penguins score only once, and that was late first period of play at 18 minutes and 55 seconds. 18 minutes, I should say, and 51 seconds. Tommy Novak with the goal. The penalty to AG of the New Jersey Devils, 2 minutes for slashing, was the call. And that was the goal, the power play goal that did count. But the next 2 times, the Devils went on the PK, both in the second period. One late second period, one middle second period. They kill off both of those timelines. Penalty minutes, the Devils, 6 minutes in the box. Penguins, 10 minutes in the box. They were out hit by New Jersey 26 to 15. They outblocked the Devils 20 to 11. And by they, I mean the Penguins. 15 giveaways for the Pittsburgh Penguins in this one. They had 6 takeaways. The New Jersey Devils with 3 takeaways and 18. And as I mentioned in the shots on goal, 7 for the Devils in the first period, 12 for them in the second, 11 for them in the third. Penguins with a 9 in the first period of shots on goal and deuces of wins in the third period and second period, ultimately to outshoot New Jersey 30-30. Play of the game from the Devils game coming up once we get through Rangers and Penguins. And to do that, 60 minutes not enough, 65 minutes not enough, or however long OT was. Why not settle it in the shootout? And that's exactly where we settled it. All right, folks, here is via the NHL app before we get down to business, breaking down this game, who the New York Rangers faced heading into the Olympic break and coming out. We're not going to go back to January. You know what? We might as well because they only played once in February before coming to the Olympic break. So here we go. We're going to go as far back to the 19th of January where they lost 5-3. They also lost the second of a back-to-back in that game, losing 4-3 to the LA Kings. They lost 3-1 to the San Jose Sharks. The only victory they picked up at the end of January was a 4-3 win over the Boston Bruins. Then they lost a home and home back-to-back against the New York Islanders, 5-2 on Wednesday, and then 2-1 Thursday. Those were the 28th and 29th of January. And then they lost to Pittsburgh most recently before their last game before the Olympic winter break. They start out their homestand, which continues till March the 5th when they will welcome in the Toronto Maple Leafs and, of course, the Columbus Blue Jackets coming into town on March 2nd. But to start off their homestand, they drop 2-0 to Carolina in shutout fashion, and they lost in a overtime fashion 3-2 to the Philadelphia Flyers. They get the shootout victory against Pittsburgh to even the season series, which at the time of today's game was a 2-1 series lead for the Pittsburgh Penguins. The Rangers get the win in the shootout. Your officiating crew for the game on tap at MSG, coach was Dan Muse of the Pittsburgh Penguin, Mike Sullivan for the New York Rangers. The Rangers out of the Olympic winter break and at the Olympic winter break had a record of 22, 29, and 6. Penguins 29, 15, and 12. They came into this game against the Rangers 30, 15, and 12. Rangers coming into this one at 22, 29, and 7. And our officiators on scene, well, they were none other than Gord Dwyer, number 19, he was the referee this afternoon. The other referee was number 11, Kelly Sutherland. Officials as rather linesmen. They were Andrew Smith, number 51, and Steve Barton, number 59. Out in the Rangers game, Penguins without Kevin Hayes, Ryan Graves, and Ilya Solovyov. Hopefully I'm having that right. Apologies if I didn't have it right. No Jody Brodzinski, no UV for the Rangers, and of course no Vincent L also for the Rangers in this one, but no problem. Also want to mention, as I did in the Devils, no Sidney Crosby for the Pittsburgh Penguins, no problem. Well, this one might have been a problem. Here we go. Netminders, as we get into it, we go from Artur Shilovs to Stuart Skinner, getting the nod in net for the Pittsburgh Penguins. Artur Shilovs on the bench after playing against the New Jersey Devils on Thursday. We'll likely get the start tomorrow against Vegas, which we'll talk about later in our show as we wind down. The Rangers are Igor Shesterkin with Jonathan Quick in at backup for a game that was starting at 12:30 p.m. Eastern Time, 11:30 a.m. Central, 9:30 a.m. Pacific, 10:30 a.m. Mountain, 5:30 p.m. UK, 7:30 p.m. France and Sweden. It was actually 6:30 p.m. UK time, not 5:30. So made a quick double check on that note, but that's okay. The important thing is the time zones. Moving on. The game started with a quick start by the Pittsburgh Penguins and an interesting start for the New York Rangers. We're going to break this breakdown into two segments, one with the first period and maybe the second period, and then later we'll get into the third period of play and the shootout, because there's a lot to get over. There's a lot to get into, I should say. But here we go. Let's get to our first period. In the first period, as mentioned, we did have a few penalties in the game. Rangers take 4 penalties in the first period, I should say. The first one went to number 4, Braden Schneider. 2-minute minor for holding. Time of the penalty, 1 minute, 28 seconds. Well, this isn't new. This isn't new for the Pittsburgh Penguins. Just like Thursday night in the Berg on a afternoon in the Big Apple, they take advantage of the opportunity to score first on the power play with the man advantage. And this time it's Anthony Mantha. PPG for PGH, Eric Carlson on the assist, his second assist of the season. Brian Rust on the assist as well, secondary assist for Brian Rust, his 22nd assist of the season. At 2 minutes and 8 seconds in, it's 1-0 Penguins. 2 minutes and 8 seconds into the hockey game. Vincent Torchek takes the next 2 penalties for the New York Rangers. Both would be at the same time. 2 minutes and 36 seconds. One of them would be served by number 13, Alexis Lafreniere, and that was a 2-minute minor for abuse of officials served by Alexis Lafreniere at 2 minutes and 36 seconds. The other penalty was a 10-minute misconduct at 2 minutes and 36 seconds for Vincent Torchek. So Vincent Torchek did not serve the 2 penalties. He was actually out of the game for at least the 10 minutes. Actually, maybe he was in the box. I don't really know. I was listening to it on the radio, so it was hard to tell. But credit to the old 2-9er, Phil Borg and Joe Brand, trying to paint a picture for me there. Credit them for trying to paint a picture on that penalty. Of course, it was a nationally televised game on ABC. And of course, it was also a local broadcast, was only to be found on the radio side for the Pittsburgh Penguins. But with that said, the Rangers would then take another penalty at 18 minutes and 30 seconds. This time, it's another holding penalty, and this one is going against Vladislav Gavrikov. Hopefully I got that right. Apologies if I pronounced it wrong. 2 minutes for holding at 18 minutes and 30 seconds. Penguins take 1 penalty in the period. That went to Blake Lizotte. 2 minutes for slashing. Connor Sheary, former Penguin, able to draw the penalty on Blake Lizotte. 15 minutes and 59 seconds was the time of the penalty. Rangers almost went on more than 4 penalties in this game. Well, okay, 3 penalties to be exact, because Vincent Torchek took 2 in the same time. Anyways, you get what I mean. The craziest part about it, and we'll talk about this on another episode of Sports for Beginners, but the craziest part about it was, get this, just when you think they scored again, and this time it was Brian Rust at the 3-minute mark of the first period. Just when you think they scored again, another PPG for PGH, it's 2-0 Penguins 3 minutes into this hockey game. Get this. Brian Rust appeared to extend the lead on the power play for Pittsburgh at 3 minutes into the first period, taking a cross-ice pass from Evgeny Malkin for a snapshot in the left face-off circle, but it was disallowed after Anthony Mantha was ruled to have interfered with Igor Shesterkin following a coach's challenge by the Rangers. Rust later hit the right post with another snapshot on a rush at 13 minutes and 23 seconds. It was Ryan Shea who made it 2-0 at 1 minute 59 seconds of the second period. At that time, the Penguins were out shooting the Rangers 12-2, and we'll get into more on this second period, third period, and of course the shootout as we roll on with more Penguins postgame in just a moment.
Hi, Scott. It's Ali here. I just wanted to mention that I'm really enjoying the show, and I'm really enjoying what you're putting together. And I wanted to just say I'm enjoying being a part of it as well. So please keep up the phenomenal work. And make sure you guys keep this podcast going because it really suits you well.
Have you ever wondered about the books we've been reading throughout the week?
Are you looking for friendly banter and technology tips at the same time?
Then you've come to the right place.
Check out The Ali and McCara Show. It airs live on Sunday afternoons at 3:30 p.m. Eastern.
Until spring. In the spring, we'll switch back to Mondays.
To learn more about the show, please visit thealiandmccarashow.ca.
While you're there, subscribe to the newsletter so you never miss an update. And besides, it's free.
Enter your email address and hit subscribe.
The Ali and McCara Show is part of the Musa Slobodian Network, where good conversations happen.
To learn more about the network, please visit themusaslobodiannetwork.ca.
Enter your email and hit subscribe so you never miss network updates.
Take another look with Gerda Felix and Melanie Taddeo Malo, two powerful women of diverse backgrounds having genuine, unique, and uncomfortable conversations that everyone needs to have. Join Melanie and Gerda for conversations about what is missing from human connections.
Okay, folks, we are winding down this edition of Penguins Postgame. Already talked about the Devils. Great. We're good. We're good with the Devils. Don't need to do much there. Let's get back to Rangers and Penguins as this double dose continues. Here we go. Where did we leave off? Oh, yeah, right. After the first period. And I did mention the goal by Ryan Shea at a minute 59 seconds into the second period, which gave the Penguins, who led 1-0 after one period of play in this afternoon's contest. Of course, it's now nighttime as we record this, but anyways, that's besides the point. Ryan Shea made it 2-0. Connor Clifton on the assist, his third of the year. Blake Lizotte also on the assist, his 12th of the year. Mika Zibanejad hits Peta with a PPG for NYR of his very own. This coming after the Pittsburgh Penguins took a penalty, and guess who took the penalty? Rickard Rakell, 2 minutes for hooking at 9 minutes and 9 seconds. That would be our final penalty of the game called, as there was no penalties called overtime or in the third period. A lot of coulda, shoulda, wouldas in the third and also in overtime. But how did we get to overtime? Well, first, Mika Zibanejad didn't tie it up. He put the Rangers on the board at the 10-minute mark of the second period of play. His 24th goal of the season, Mika Zibanejad. Vincent Torchik, the Pittsburgh native, his 26th assist of the season. JT Miller, third assist of the season for him. 2-1 Penguins after they led 1-0 after 20 minutes of play and outshot the New York Rangers by a score of, at the end of one period of play, in terms of shots on goal. Second period of play, after the goal, and of course that penalty that was taken prior to the goal, for the Pittsburgh Penguins, 14 shots on goal. For the New York Rangers, 11 shots on goal at the end of the period. Penguins out shooting the Rangers 14-11. For the period, the score was 2-1 Pittsburgh. It was 2-1 Penguins at the end of 40 minutes of play. 14-11 the shots on goal in the second period. Penguins out shooting the Rangers. They got outshot in the third period by the New York Rangers 10-4, but the Penguins were leading in the shots on goal category 28-23 at the end of 60 minutes of play. Score after regulation were square 2-2. Penguins 2, Rangers 2. Now, was that correct? Let's see. The Rangers had 2 shots on goal in the first period all time. 11 shots on goal in the second period, which ultimately means it would have, yes, they They had 13 at that time. And the Penguins had 24 at the time. They had 10 shots on goal in the first 20 minutes of play. They got 14 in the second period. That shapes up for 14. Moving on, the third period tally there was 10 for the Rangers. So yes, they did have 23 shots on goal at that time in the third period, at the end of the third. And the Penguins, who only had 4 shots on goal in the third period, led 28-23 at the end of 3 periods of play. They outshot the Rangers 5-2 in overtime. Of course, the goal came in the third period that brought us to overtime, which was scored by Taylor Radish. 9th goal of the season for him. Vladislav Gavrikov, 13th assist of the season for him. Braden Brisson, first assist of the year for him. 2 minutes and 57 seconds in, the Rangers have tied it up at 2 goals apiece. On to overtime we go, as the Penguins could not find a way to solve Igor Shesterkin throughout the remaining 20 minutes of the third period of play. Well, overtime didn't solve anything. We didn't have a game winner, and we definitely didn't have a penalty called. So the final shots on goal would be 33 for the Penguins and 25 for the New York Rangers at the end of action. But we're not done yet. That would be for the game. Now it's a free-for-all shooter. The shooter versus the goaltender in this shootout between the New York Rangers and the Pittsburgh Penguins. Shooting for your Pittsburgh Penguins, number 39, Anthony Mantha. Number 59, Igor Chinakov. And number 18, Tommy Novak, or rather Thomas Novak. Shooting for the New York Rangers, the Pittsburgh native, number 16, Vincent Trocheck. And number 8, J.T. Miller. How did it go? Here we go. Penguins start off, and we get Igor Shesterkin to make a save here to kick us off in the shootout. He makes a save on a missed wrist shot from Anthony Mantha. So it wasn't a save, but it was a missed shot from Anthony Mantha. No score. Bottom of the first, Vincent Trocheck, first to shoot for the New York Rangers, scores on Stuart Skinner, beats Stuart Skinner. This would ultimately end up being the GWG and the game-deciding goal to make it New York over Pittsburgh, which was the final score in the shootout. But it's now 1-0 in the shootout. For the game, the final score was 3-2. Let's go to the top of the second of the shootout. Igor Chinakov, the next to shoot. Stop by Shesterkin. And the Penguins still without a goal, but they need a stop from Stuart Skinner to keep the shootout going. J.T. Miller, bottom of the second, the next to shoot. Stop by Stuart Skinner. Skinner gets the stop the Penguins need, but now they need a goal here in the top of the third to keep the shootout going to a bottom of the third. Tommy Novak takes the puck. Stop by Igor Shesterkin, and that's your hockey game. Penguins fall 3-2 to the New York Rangers in the shootout by losing 1-0 in the shootout. The shootout woes continue for the Pittsburgh Penguins, and we could talk about that a lot, but we got to get a quick turnaround to a 1 p.m. game on Sunday. And even though this show and our PWHL show and our Friday show that was supposed to drop yesterday didn't drop, but it will drop on Monday ahead of this one. And you obviously probably heard it before you heard this one. But anyways, that is besides the point. And then of course we have our PWHL show, which is coming up right after this show finishes up. But anyways, the Rangers get the win. They were outshot 33-25 for the game. So the Penguins, they did get a shot taken off the board here, but they did outshoot the New York Rangers 33-25. They did get a shot taken off the board for what it would normally have been. which would have been a total of 34 to 25. Instead, it was 33 to 25. I'll figure out where that shot came off of the board. All things considered, those are your shots on goal. The rest of the stats coming up in just a short few minutes, but want to take this time to tell you that before we go to our 3 stars of the game, we are going to take a timeout. After the 3 stars of the game and this timeout, we are going to get to our stats, but not before we do our first Bucks and Pucks check-in of the 2025 regular season as we look at spring training for the Pittsburgh Pirates. How have they been doing? How did they fare today in spring training action? That action comes your way in a Bucko check-in when Penguins postgame. Double dose continues.
I wonder if I could make it. It's almost getting to 8 o'clock p.m., and I am still a few more steps away from home to get to my computer to listen to CNT Radio's Cosmopolitan Culture Club. The best of the best music from around the world. Can't wait. I think I made it. CNT Radio, making your day brighter, one song at a time.
Hey Allie, did you know we have a books panel?
I did not know that. When is it?
It takes place on the last Friday of each month at 7:30 p.m. Eastern.
Where we have fun and engaging conversations
about a book that one of the panelists picks.
So, how can I learn more about the show?
To learn more, please visit bookspanel.ca. While you're there, subscribe to the newsletter so you never miss an update. Besides, it's free. Enter your email and hit subscribe.
The Books Pen is part of the Musa Slobodian Network, where good conversations happen.
To learn more about the network, please visit themusaslobodiannetwork.ca. While you're over there, hit subscribe so you never miss a network update. Enter your email and hit subscribe.
The Pittsburgh Penguins get the dub on Thursday against the Devils 4-1. They drop 3-2 in the shootout this afternoon to the New York Rangers. And as we speak with you, we want to remind you that after PWHL recaps, Sirens, and the Victoire, you thought you could get rid of Penguins postgame that easily? Not going to happen. Join us on Tuesday as we recap. We probably will do this tomorrow, but we'll recap tomorrow's game against the Vegas Golden Knights. But you thought you were going to get rid of us that easily for Penguins postgame? Not going to work. We'll be back with you again for Penguins and Golden Knights. Early start, 1 p.m. Eastern. It's the first matchup of 2 between Vegas and Pittsburgh. So if we're not able to get you a Vegas and Pittsburgh second game recap, at least we can get you the first one. We'll see how it goes out. But let's take a look before we go back to hockey for a second, as we're going to get to our 3 stars of the Rangers and Penguins game. And of course, our stats from Rangers Penguins in a little bit. We're going to get to that in a little bit. Let's take a break from hockey for a second on Penguins postgame for a Bucko check-in. The Pittsburgh Pirates. How have they been doing as they get closer to the start of the 2026 regular baseball season? Well, the Pittsburgh Pirates improved to 7-2, picking up a dub against the Houston Astros today as we record this. They beat Houston 5-2, and that is their 3rd straight victory. That is their 3rd straight victory since falling to the Atlanta Braves 3-1 February 2026. Before that, crushed the Boston Red Sox on Tuesday 16-7, beat Baltimore 8-2, played a split squad on the 22nd of February, and they won both of those games 7-4 against Tampa Bay and 4-3 against the Philadelphia Phillies. They lost 6-2 to the New York Yankees on the Monday, the 23rd. And then since the Atlanta loss, they beat Minnesota 6-4, Baltimore 6-1, and today they beat Houston 5-2. On deck, as we approach UBC time in Major League Baseball spring training, they will take on the St. Louis Cardinals. First pitch flies just after 1 p.m. Eastern. Then they take on the Tampa Bay Rays and the Colorado Rockies. Colorado on March 3rd. Tampa Bay on March 2nd. Off day on the 4th, which is a Wednesday. Back at it against St. Louis at 1:05 p.m. Eastern on Thursday. Then a split squad game on March 6th between Toronto and, of course, Philadelphia. So we got a little bit of a Battle of PA in spring training brewing on March 6th. Of course, the Blue Jays will also host the Pirates on that same day. And that'll do it for our Bucko check-in. Bucko's doing pretty well. They're 7-2 right now in spring training. I know that doesn't really matter, but considering where they were at the end of the 2025 regular season, which was Pittsburgh finished with a record 71 wins and 91 losses. Considering what they did in that season, it's a new season. And they're off to a good start in spring training. They're right there with the Yankees in Grapefruit League action. They're right there with the Yankees at 7-2. Then of course you got Atlanta at 6-2, Washington at 5-2, Boston 5-3, St. Louis also 5-3, the Mets 4-3, Baltimore 4-4, Miami 3-5, Philadelphia also 3-5, Tampa Bay also 3-5, Toronto 2-6, Detroit 5-2, Minnesota 2-7, and Houston 1-5. While for a team like the Tigers, who hadn't won a game, they've now won 2 games and only lost 5 games. They win 3 more of those spring training games. Guess what? Sorry, yes, I had that right. They win 3 more games. Detroit wins 3 more games. They're at 500 when they've lost 5 games, and they only need to win 3 to get to a record of 5-5 over the course of spring training. But again, like I said, and I'm a Blue Jays fan, so would I like the Blue Jays to pick it up in spring training? Absolutely. I mean, we're the defending American League champions. Not to mention, we also won our division last year and almost won, but we came so close to winning the entire damn thing, winning the World Series for the first time since 1992 and 1993. I'm a Blue Jays fan, but I'm also a Pittsburgh Penguins hockey fan, which is why I wanted to do a Bucks and Pucks segment. Okay, back to hockey. Here we go, folks. Your stats for the afternoon game, the final game of the 2025-2026 NHL regular season series between the 2 division rivals. The Pittsburgh Penguins winning 12, I almost said 13, 12 out of 52 of their faceoffs. They won 23.1% of those faceoffs. The Rangers winning 40 out of 52 faceoffs. 76.9% of those faceoffs won by the Rangers. We're in the stats here before we get to the 3 stars. All right. We changed up the game plan a little bit. That's all right. Rangers go 2 for 3 on the PK. The Penguins 1 for 3 on the power play. They go 1 for 2 on the PK as they allow a power play goal from Mika Zibanejad to give them the game. They get the game winner here, 3-2 in the shootout, but they score once on the power play. The Rangers do. They go 1 for 2 on the power play. Penguins 1 for 2 on the PK. 2 for 3 went the Rangers on the PK. 1 for 3 Penguins on the power play. Penalty minutes, 16 penalty minutes for the Rangers in this one, 28 hits. 15 hits for the Penguins, 4 penalty minutes for Pittsburgh in this one. 19 blocked shots for the Penguins, 11 blocked shots for the Rangers. 15 giveaways to the Penguins. The Penguins 15 giveaways to the Rangers, 16 giveaways, 4 takeaways for the New York Rangers, 6 takeaways for the Pittsburgh Penguins in this one, despite the Penguins losing this game in the shootout. 3 stars of the game, the Penguins Radio Network, and of course the New York Rangers TV and radio networks, respective sponsors, sponsor those segments. But for our segments, we don't have a sponsor for that. So here we go. Your 3rd star went to Penguins right wing Taylor Radish. 1 goal, 1 point, no assist. Your 2nd star went to Rangers center Mika Zibanejad. 1 goal, 1 point, no assist. And your 1st star might have been number 31 tonight, this afternoon, I should say, in your program. But at the end of the day, he is number 1 in your heart. Igor Shesterkin is your 1st star. A goals against average of 1.85, a save percentage of 939. Igor is your 1st star of the game. Mika Zibanejad, your 2nd star. And Taylor Radish, your 3rd star. Penguins fall 3-2 to the New York Rangers. When we return to Penguins postgame, as we round out our show in these last 2 segments coming up, which is now most likely 2 hours, but we'll see how it ends up. But regardless, when we return, we'll get to the play of the game from the Devils game, and we'll get to the play of the game from the Penguins and Rangers game today. And of course, we don't really have a lot of time to go through the scoreboard, so we're just going to go right to the shake of the game after the play of the game from both the Devils game and, of course, this game that happened this afternoon, because we still got to preview what's ahead for Pittsburgh and what's ahead for the Rangers due to time constraints. So we're just going to go right to Rangers and Penguins. But if you have a difference in opinion in our 3 stars, as I've mentioned already, and we'll do game pucks of the game on the Vegas show. We might run out of time for this one, so we're going to do shake of the game after the play of the game when we come back from this one. And then after that, we'll talk about what's ahead for Pittsburgh, what's ahead for New York. I would really like to do the scoreboard. I would really like to do the scoreboard for today, but we just don't really have a lot of time here. So we're going to go ahead and take a quick break. When we come back, play of the game from the NJD versus PIT game, and the play of the game from the NYR versus the PIT Hockey Club, the New Jersey Devils, and the Pittsburgh Penguins. We'll get you the play of the game from those games coming up, and coming up after that, the overall shake of the game coming courtesy to a Penguins player. And then it's time to preview Penguins, Rangers, next games. Right after this, quick commercial break and a word from the good folks at the Musa Slobodian and our good folks over at Sienna T Radio, making your day brighter one song at a time.
Have you ever wondered about the books we've been reading throughout the week?
Are you looking for friendly banter and technology tips at the same time?
Then you've come to the right place.
Check out the Ali and McCara Show. It airs live on Sunday afternoons at 3:30 p.m. Eastern.
Until spring. In the spring, we'll switch back to Mondays.
To learn more about the show, please visit thealiandmccarashow.ca.
While you're there, subscribe to the newsletter so you never miss an update. And besides, it's free.
Enter your email address and hit subscribe.
The Ali and McCara Show is part of the Musa Slobodian Network, where good conversations happen.
To learn more about the network, please visit themusaslobodiannetwork.ca.
Enter your email and hit subscribe so you never miss network updates.
Sienna T Radio will never give you up. They will never let you down, nor will they run around or desert you. So join Nick Astley for The Melting Pot every Saturday on Sienna T Radio. Hang on a minute. He's not Nick Astley. Oh, jings, I've done it wrong. Anyway, just join Nick for The Melting Pot on Sienna T Radio.
All right, thank you very much, Nick. And thank you very much, Makara and Ali. Great ads you guys put together. I know, Nick, we had to alter it around what we normally would have been posting before, where it was the music that we were doing. So I thank you for the AI. I thank you for the AI ad for the Melting Pot, which is every Saturday morning, 11:30 a.m. Eastern to 12:30 p.m. Eastern Time. Sincerest apologies, folks at Sienna T Radio, for not being able to attend this triple play today. But there's like a lot that I had to get done. Well, a lot on the podcast side to get done for Sports for Beginners. Obviously, you take what you can get with what you got to do. And of course, I am grateful for any time I'm able to check in. Obviously, it just didn't work with the time tonight or this morning. Well, it could have worked for Nick. It could have worked for Nick. I don't know. Maybe if I had done that, maybe things would have been different between the two squads. But then again, the Pittsburgh game was at 12:30. So, I mean, yeah, it could be in time for Nick and then in time for puck drop, at least in time for puck drop. But where does that leave me there? Well, we shall see. Anywho, ladies and gentlemen, we are just pretty much overtime for our show here. So let's wrap it up here. Shake of the game coming up in just a moment. Let's start with the play of the game for the Rangers, since that's the most recent game. I was listening to Phil Bork after the game when we did the play of the game, and I gotta give the old 2-9er credit for this. I really do. But Taylor Raddysh's goal, that really turned the tide. That goal right there really turned the tide on this game into the New York Rangers' favor, and I think shortly after that, we just couldn't get out of our own way and really couldn't get that game-winning goal in the third period, let alone overtime. Maybe it has something to do with the fact that Sid's not in the lineup, but the dude's injured, so what are you going to do? Or rather, what is there to do? Crosby's injured. What is there to do? But then again, credit to the Pittsburgh native Vincent Trocheck scoring the game winner in the shootout. We just got to get better. The Penguins have to get better in the shootout, especially if they want to get points, and especially if they want to keep pace with right now the number one team in the Metropolitan Division, the Carolina Hurricanes. If the Penguins want to keep pace with the Carolina Hurricanes, they need to win games and they need to take care of their business. I don't care if you're facing a team that's out of the playoffs like the New York Rangers or the New Jersey Devils at this current time, or in this case, sorry, Dad, but I got to throw the Philadelphia Flyers into the mix because they're down below there as well. You're going to have to get the job done against teams like Carolina and the Islanders, the Capitals. Maybe you could let a game with Columbus slide, but the reality is you have to take care of your business, whether you're playing a divisional opponent or you're playing an opponent outside of your division, but still in the conference. Even if you're playing out in the West, you're going to need to take care of your business. And we just couldn't get it done this afternoon. That's why we lost 3-2 in the shootout. But there's not a lot to be upset about. Started the game scoring first, did score another goal. We also did score a goal on the power play, but it was negated due to a challenge on the coaching side. Mike Sullivan challenged Brian Rust's power play goal, was called back because it was ruled goaltender interference. But at the end of the day, shortly after the Ryan Shea goal and then the goal given up on the power play to Mika Zibanejad, who scored on the power play. And then, of course, the next goal scored by Taylor Raddysh, that ultimately turned the tide, which is why the goal by Taylor Raddysh in the third period, the early third period moments, good enough for my play of the game for the Penguins-Rangers game, ultimately leading to a Vincent Trocheck 3-2 goal win over the Pittsburgh Penguins. Vincent Torchet with the game winner in the shootout for the Rangers. The Penguins fall 3-2, but a night before that, they beat the New Jersey Devils. And here is my play of the game from the Devils game. Once again, I want to give it to Blake Lizotte, but I'm going to give it to the dad strength goal. Igor Chinikov, fresh off of welcoming a new child into the family for the Chinikov family, and dad scores in his first game back after the Olympic break and after having to be with the family, especially after welcoming in a newborn to the family. So Igor Chinikov's goal, good enough for my play of the game against the New Jersey Devils, in which the Penguins beat the Devils 4-1. They'll go for 3-1 series win on April 9th against the New Jersey Devils in Newark, New Jersey, at the home of the Devils, the Prudential Center, also home of the PWHL's New York Sirens. Speaking of the Sirens, tune in after this show for my recap of pretty much deja vu, if you will, considering the final score of that game was also the final score of the Devils game. So pretty much a little deja vu for the Penguins Devils and a little deja vu for the Montreal Victoire and the New York Sirens. Shake of the game in this show, that's just going to go on the Penguins side, and that's going to go to the Penguins player throughout these two games, the Devils game on Thursday and today's game against the Rangers, who I thought was standing out pretty well. For the Rangers game, that's going to go to Stuart Skinner, who had to stand on his frickin' head. I don't normally say this a lot, but I'm going to say it because we're doing it right now. He had to stand on his frickin' head to keep the Penguins in this game, and he made some pretty unbelievable saves. If we go back and watch the highlights later after this show is done, maybe you did it before you tuned into this show, but I don't know. You do you. But he just stood on his freaking head. I thought Stuart Skinner stood on his freaking head today. 25 saves off 25 shots, 2 goals given up, 1 uneven strength, 1 power play goal. Look, no matter how you slice it, it is what it is. I really like the gameplay by Stuart Skinner in this one. Yes, he gave up 2 goals, 1 on power play and 1 at even strength. But the dude made huge saves when he absolutely needed to. The dude made huge saves when he absolutely needed to. So he is my shake of the game overall player for the New York Rangers hockey game. Over on the Devils side, the player for the Penguins going to get the glory here. I acknowledged the dad strength goal, but how about acknowledging Tommy Novak scores again? And yeah, this time he didn't score against the Rangers, but he did score against the Devils. I thought Tommy Novak, both in the Devils game and in the Rangers game, he had his moments in the Rangers game. I thought he was playing pretty dang well against the New York Rangers, but we lost that game. Well, that season series is tied. Will the Devils tie the season series against Pittsburgh? We're not going to know till April. By then, the trade deadline will have gone by, and most likely players who played on February 20th. And of course, the dates that I mentioned before, January 8th and November 8th, will have come and gone, depending on what Kyle Dubas does with the Penguins at the trade deadline coming up in March. And speaking of March, now that we've gotten that out of the way for our player of the game segment, it's time to preview what's ahead, starting with the victorious New York Rangers. For the New York Rangers, we'll do it via the NHL app, but I also had the schedule up on the web as well. But barring any technical issues here, we are going to worry about it on the app. So the next five, I should say, for the New York Rangers include 7 p.m. showdowns on Monday night against the Columbus Blue Jackets at 7 p.m. Eastern. Then on Thursday night, they've got the Toronto Maple Leafs in town to close out their current homestand, which has not gone pretty well. They were on a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5-game homestand. It hasn't gone that well. They got the win in the shootout against Pittsburgh, but lost the last 2 games, including the last game before the Olympic break and the opening game post-Olympic break, but they get the second game post-Olympic break. Let's see how they do game 3 post-Olympic break against Columbus. Then they play Toronto on Thursday. Saturday, they take on the New Jersey Devils at 3 p.m. Eastern. That's an early time slot. They're heading on a back-to-back Monday and Tuesday night, the 9th and 10th of March. Both games at 7 p.m. Eastern. First against Philadelphia to close out a short 2-game road trip, which begins in New Jersey and ends in Philadelphia. Then a quick pit stop at home against Calgary, 7 p.m. puck drop time. Another short 2-game road trip for the Rangers. We'll see them take on the Jets and the Wild. But their next 5 are Columbus, Toronto, New Jersey, Philadelphia, and Calgary. And as for the Pittsburgh Penguins, who we will be talking about more about on the episode following PWHL Recap. You can't get rid of Penguins postgame that easily. Tomorrow, as part of their next 5 games, Boston is twice in those next 5 games. The Pittsburgh Penguins will take a brief stop on their back-to-back that they are on right now. Their back half of the back-to-back is tomorrow afternoon. Of course, by the time you hear this, that game will have gone final. And that is the first meeting between Dan Muse and Bruce Cassidy, between the Golden Knights and the Pittsburgh Penguins this hockey season. That will kick off our next 5 games for the Pittsburgh Penguins. Puck drops at 1 p.m. Eastern. Back to a little nightclub action at 7 p.m. Eastern on Tuesday night, March 3rd. March 5th, the Thursday at 7 p.m. Eastern, the Buffalo Sabres will be in town to start a 3-game home stand. And those 3 games will round out our next 5 games for Pittsburgh, because they are at home against the Buffalo Sabres on March 5th. The Battle of PA returns to the Burgh at 5:30 p.m. Eastern, March 7th. And then on a back-to-back, March 8th at 4:30 p.m. Eastern, it's the Boston Bruins and the Pittsburgh Penguins. The last 2 meetings of the season against the Bees are coming up. Reminder of the last time the Bees battled the Penguins. Well, you gotta go back to mid-January, where they lost 1-0 in Boston on January 11th. As for now, fans, that is going to do it for this double dose edition of Penguins Postgame. Thank you so much for being with us. Wish it was a winning edition of Penguins Postgame. Double dose, back-to-back wins. But instead, we got a win on Thursday against the Devils, followed by a loss this afternoon against the New York Rangers. What will Sunday afternoon bring? Stay tuned to Penguins Postgame after PWHL Recap Victoire versus Sirens to find out. That's it for us on Penguins Postgame. We'll be back with you ahead of Bruins and Penguins at most likely the time of puck drop between the Golden Knights and the Pittsburgh Penguins on Tuesday. Join us for the recap of the Golden Knights and the Penguins Round 1 2025-2026 NHL regular season. Not a lot of games left, but still some time to get some ground for the Penguins if they want to stay in the playoffs. My name is Scott McGregor, and to honor the great Mike Lang, I'll use my spin on his ladies and gentlemen. Elvis has just left the building line. Ladies and gentlemen, Justin Brazeau has just left the building. That is it for us on Penguins Postgame. We'll talk to you tomorrow for the Golden Knights and the Penguins. Until then, Penguin fans, my name is Scott McGregor saying, let's go Pens, and we'll see you after Knights Penguins. They fall 3-2 in the shootout. Quick turnaround. Let's see what we get back in the Burgh tomorrow afternoon. See you then. Thank you so much for listening to Sports for Beginners. If you would like to learn more about the show, you can visit the podcast Facebook page or visit the official website. You can also send us an email at sportsforbeginners podcast8231@gmail.com. As we always remind you, it is not goodbye, it is until next time.